Okay, today on the workbench we have the 1960s TV robot made by Alps. There were three versions of this particular toy. This one has the plastic magnifier, the original had a glass. This one has plastic foot covers and the plastic leg covers. The original one was all tin when it came to that, and this one has the large claws. The other two versions have the smaller claws. Functions are the same: walking, a screeching sound that turns on and off, the moving pictures, moving lit mouth bead thing, rotating eyes, and the antenna. And this one is plastic. On the others, or at least on the first one, is metal. And inserting this down inside the head is what turns it on. Now, the problem with this one, and I'm hoping the camera will be able to see this, I wanted to show it before I take it apart. See, the unique thing about this toy is they used a lot of flex drives. You see this piece right here is going there, goes around. That's a flex drive coming off the gearbox and transfers the power up to move the pictures. Now back in here, maybe if you look clear up in the head there, you can see it back there. There's that shaft. You follow that down behind the picture frame. There it is there again. And look there. It takes a sharp right angle bend. It's not supposed to be that sharp. It's supposed to stay flexible in a curve. The flex shaft has failed. It hasn't knotted yet. That's the next thing that'll happen, is they'll twist back on themselves and knot, and then they bind up to where the motor doesn't run at all. The place that this one's at right now, let's see if we can capture that on video. Hear that clicking sound? And you can see the flex shaft jumping, and the way the eyes jump and the mouth things jump. Yeah, see, it's not supposed to be thumping like that. Should be fairly silent on that flex shaft. So I'm going to have to tear this robot all the way down. And the flex shafts are soldered into the gearboxes and up to, on a gear up in the top. I'm going to remove that, the solder, hopefully. Sometimes it takes a torch, sometimes it takes a really large soldering pencil, which I have one of, like 100 and 150 watt, and you can control the temperatures. And I'm going to remove it and take the end up here that isn't damaged and put it on down there so I can get a smoother turn. And I'm going to cut that bad part off, and I may or may not try to save a little piece of that, but because this is a straighter run up here and the curve really only happens severely there, wherever I can make a cut, I'll insert a piece of brass tubing to make up for the damaged part so it's the right length. Solder the brass tubing in the straightaway. Then I'll still have a little bit of flex up here where it matches up to the gears up in the head, and hopefully it will have a much smoother flex down here coming off this gearbox. Now this is always a wickedly bad place on all of the Alps TV robots. It's a very sharp corner, but if we can increase the radius of that bend by increasing the length of that flex shaft, I think we can probably get it working again without the thumping sound. And what's going to naturally happen next is that that flex drive, which should be just curving, which right now is bent like that, eventually it will knot back on itself, which is normally the way I see them. And once it knots back on itself, if it doesn't break, it will jam up the motor where nothing can run at all, which is of course not good for the motor or anything else. So I guess this would be part one of this particular Alps repair. If I'm successful, then there'll be a part two.